Welcome, Gunrunner.
For some reason I think that the Neo Geo Pocket often gets forgotten about. I don't know if that's because it's overshadowed by its big brother, because it was only on the market for a short time, or because it was simply dominated by Nintendo in the handheld sector. It's certainly not because the Neo Geo Pocket is a bad system, because it's anything but. It's not only a lovely piece of hardware with its different colours and lovely clicky thumbstick, which I've very much demonstrated in my own review of the portable that I've linked down in the description for those interested, but it also has a fantastic software catalogue with loads of classic games, even if that library is a little bit lopsided, being dominated by one-on-one fighters whilst lacking in certain other areas like racing games and shoot-em-ups. It's just a shame it didn't manage to stay on the market for longer, because I'm sure that all those gaps would have been plugged as they were with the big boy Neo Geo. Indeed, even me, as a fan of the system, somewhat forgot about it, which is why I haven't covered it in this series already. But as soon as I realised that mistake, I decided to set things right, and here we are. It certainly wasn't too hard to compile a list of exclusives for the SNK handheld, as there were loads of them. The problem was trying to get a nice variety of different games from different genres, due to the issues I already stated. The last thing I wanted to do was just do a list of fighting games, but I think I managed to get a pretty good variety of titles despite the lack of genre diversity. But enough about the process of making this video, it's time to get on to the fun part, as I get to play some games and tell you why these are the most amazing SNK Neo Geo Pocket exclusives.
It's here! The revolutionary Neo Geo Pocket Color! With 16-bit power, linked to the Sega Dreamcast, revolving joystick, 146 color display, 6 cool styles. The graphics will blow you away. Neo Geo Pocket, way ahead of the game.
When the Capcom vs SNK arcade game came along, it was a really big deal. For a long time, Capcom's Street Fighter series had been going head to head with SNK's King of Fighters franchise to be crowned the best 2D one-on-one fighting game. Nobody ever expected the two companies to team up and make a fighting game pitting the best characters from each franchise against each other. This truly was a dream game. But what people seem to forget is that before we had Capcom vs SNK in the arcades, we had SNK vs Capcom on handheld for SNK's own Neo Geo Pocket. Now you might notice me swap the order of the companies in the name there, and that's because the developer is put first. So whilst Capcom developed the arcade game, SNK created the game for their own handheld. Like the many other fighting games for the Neo Geo Pocket, this gives all the sprites a kind of super deformed cartoon-like look, and there are 13 characters on each side to give a total of 26. But that isn't all, because there are also cameos from several other Capcom and SNK characters in non-playable roles during the various mini-games, which is a really nice touch. Both the graphics and sound are excellent here, and that clicky little stick on the Neo Geo Pocket makes games like this so enjoyable to play. There's loads of fighters on this handheld, but this is definitely one of the best. Like a lot of other games on the Neo Geo Pocket, this is actually a reimagining of an existing game for the big boy Neo Geo, and is also an update on a game for the monochrome version of the handheld too, hence the plus part of the name. It's also a spin-off of the hugely popular Soccer Sidekick series, but whilst those games were side-viewed with horizontal scrolling, this one is top-down with vertical scrolling instead. Another change is that this game goes for more of a simulation vibe than the all-out arcade action of its more well-known counterparts, and this means some very interesting features have been added. Firstly, each team has unique characteristics and players who don't actually have official names, but it's often very easy to tell who they are. And by winning games you earn money that can be used to buy equipment that improves your players, like new boots which improve your shooting accuracy, or better gloves so your goalkeepers will save more shots. Then there are also special items, which will boost your overall stats, such as better stamina or extra speed. All of this is done in a coaching section between each game. This is a really playable footy game with great looking sprites that are full of character, excellent audio and some really original features that truly set it apart from similar games of this era. If you like your sports titles like me, the Neo Geo Cup 98 Plus is a must-have game. I think one of the most unlikely parts of the Neo Geo Pocket story is the special partnership that was forged by SNK and Sega that meant the handheld could actually be linked up to the new state-of-the-art Dreamcast console to add a ton of extra features at both ends. As part of this agreement, Sega would produce a totally new exclusive Sonic the Hedgehog game for the portable, something that SNK hoped would really help sell the system. Although this is a system exclusive, it could be argued that Sonic Pocket is in fact a remix of the first two Sonic games from the Mega Drive. Once you start playing, you'll certainly see lots of similarities in the stage designs and overall gameplay, but I'd still argue this is very much its own game, especially as it has some very unique features you won't find in the other games. These include the ability to replay any levels that you've previously completed, a new time trial mode, and a challenge mode too, where you have to meet a set of different objectives before the time runs out. Sonic Pocket also has several competitive 2-player modes with the use of a Neo Geo Pocket link cable. One mode has you racing against each other to finish a stage first, whilst another is a race to collect a target number of rings before the other player. There's no doubting that Sonic Pocket is one of the best games on the system on both a technical and playability level. Developed by the Dyna Corporation, Neo Cherry Master is a colour improved version of an existing Neo Geo Pocket game that was released just a year earlier. It's essentially the same game, but benefits quite a bit from the visual upgrades. The name of this title immediately made me think of Mr. Do, which of course got an amazing sequel for the original Neo Geo console, but it's actually a fruit machine simulator of sorts, and part of SNK's Real Casino series. Although the main part of the game is the one-armed bandit recreation, there are also a couple of bonus card games you can play here too. These are triggered when you want to gamble your winnings and see you either trying to guess if a card is going to be higher or lower than the one held by the dealer, or if it's higher or lower than a 7. There are also 2 separate game modes, Simple and Original. The first of these is just your bare bones fruit machine sim, but the latter adds some extra features like payout percentages, dip switch settings, and those aforementioned bonus stages. Now I will fully admit that as exclusives go, Neo Cherry Master isn't particularly exciting, and I do think that SNK shortchanged just a bit by putting different casino games on different cartridges, when they should have just all been on the same one. But I still found myself getting strangely addicted to this game, and I've gone back to it many times. Released during a time when wrestling games were still all the rage, it seems incredibly bizarre that Big Bang Pro Wrestling never got a Western release, although I was interested to discover that it's the only Japanese Neo Geo Pocket game to contain an English language option. Another interesting feature of this game is that it goes for a sprite-driven arcade style at a time when wrestling games were striving for realism. There are 8 characters that are selectable from the start, plus another 2 that can be unlocked, including 1 female wrestler. Although all of these wrestlers are totally made up, you'll certainly notice more than a few similarities with famous grapplers of the age. In terms of gameplay, there is an excellent selection of different modes here, including Championship, casket matches, Money in the Bank, and a 2-player one-on-one battle over a link cable, and each character has their own moveset, including individual specials and taunts, and they also vary in physical characteristics too, such as strength or speed. You can also use the turnbuckles, climb out the ring, and even interact with the announcer's desk. The visuals here are really nice with well-defined sprites, different arenas, and great animation. There's also some excellent sound and music too. If you love wrestling games like I do, then you'll get a real kick out of Big Bang Pro Wrestling for the Neo Geo Pocket. When you think of puzzle games for the Neo Geo Pocket, then the first name that will come to mind is probably Puzzle Bobble, aka Buster Move, or you might even be partial to a bit of Magical Drop or Puyo Puyo. But there is in fact another very worthy puzzler that seems to have flown under the radar in Puzzle Link. Like those games, this is another that relies on that tried and tested technique of matching colours, although I should say that these colours also match different shapes, which is why the original iteration of this game was actually for the monochrome version of the handheld. The addition of colour does make the gameplay a little easier though, so it's a worthy upgrade. The way this Blockbuster works though is quite different to the others I mentioned, as it requires you to link the different shapes together to clear them. This is done by firing pipes up the screen that you place in lines to link the same blocks together. You don't have to worry about the type of pipe you fire or anything like that though, thankfully, as it automatically places the right type of pipe for the shapes around it. This might still sound a little complicated, but it really isn't, as the gameplay here proves. There's a 1-player mode here, a 2-player link-up mode, and a host of different options too. There's also an equally excellent sequel to Puzzle Link, but that one was only released in Japan sadly. There was a time in the mid to late 90s where snowboarding games became all the rage and seemed to be popping up everywhere. By far one of the most successful titles in that vast selection was undoubtedly CoBorders, which first appeared on the PlayStation 1 in 1996 before making its way into the arcades thanks to Tecmo, some 2 years later. There were also a series of sequels and spin-offs, including this one, which was exclusive to the Neo Geo Handheld. Now, there is one pretty huge change to this game from the ones that came before it, which I'm guessing you've already spotted, as rather than a third person behind the player viewpoint, this one goes for an isometric perspective instead. You start off by either selecting a male or female boarder, and then you choose which type of game you want to play. The 2 game modes here are Free Ride, where you navigate an obstacle course with no restrictions until you reach the end, and a Survival mode, where you snowboard through an obstacle course until you run out of health. The stats panel at the top of the screen helps you keep track of things like speed, health, and the distance you've travelled, and as well as simply snowboarding, there are also a small amount of different tricks you can pull off too, which help you clear hazards. The graphics and sound are both excellent here, and CoBorders is certainly a lot of fun to play too. Do you remember the 1989 light-gun based arcade game Beastbusters? It was SNK's answer to the success of Operation Wolf, but its cool zombie theme really helped set it apart from the competition at that time. You could even argue that it served as an inspiration for Sega's House of the Dead. Well, if you do remember it, you might be interested to learn that SNK revived the game for their handheld system, but chose to go down a very different route with its depiction, as Dark Arms Beastbuster is actually an action RPG, a far cry from the first-person shooter mechanics of the original coin-op. In the game you take control of a female protagonist called Megan Laughlin, who is trying to contain and ultimately defeat an outbreak of demons. This is because she has psychic powers that mean she can act as a mediator between this world and the next. This also means she can collect the spirits of these demons and their zombie minions with a special weapon she designed called the Catcher. You can then use these captured spirits to feed your weapons and evolve them into more powerful forms. For example, the standard handgun can eventually be evolved into a more powerful shotgun with enough souls fed into it. Dark Arms has nice moody graphics and sound, compelling gameplay, and more depth than you'd expect to find on a game for an arcade focused handheld. There's no way that SNK could have justified giving their handheld the prestigious Neo Geo moniker without delivering at least one Metal Slug game for it. Thankfully they did just that, as we have not just one but two titles that are totally exclusive to the Pocket Color in the form of First Mission and this game that follows straight on from it called Second Mission. Basically, this sequel is more of the same in every regard, as it plays just like any other Metal Slug game with its traditional run and gun gameplay, but has some pretty big improvements over the first game on the Neo Geo Pocket, with much better graphics and sound, as well as more gameplay to get your teeth into. So yeah, all the things that make the Metal Slug games so great are here: the power-ups, the bosses, the secrets, the people you have to rescue, and the vehicles too. The levels here are really varied, with each one taking place in a different landscape, and there are sections with vertical as well as horizontal scrolling, and also different characters to select from, including one that needs to be unlocked. Like the other games in the franchise, Second Mission certainly isn't an easy game, but also like its siblings, a huge amount of fun from playing it means it never gets frustrating and you'll keep coming back for more. This isn't just one of the handheld's best exclusives, it's one of its best games, full stop.
Pineapple. Grenade gun.
Although I didn't want to include more than one fighting game on this list because I like to give as much variation as possible in these videos, there was just no way I could leave this one out, because it's something so unique, so I decided to finish the video with it. This is because Gale's Fighters features a purely female cast, as the name does indeed suggest, not just setting it apart from the huge glut of other fighters on the Neo Geo Pocket, but also from most one-on-one fighting games in general. So who are these gals then, I hear you ask? Well, they're all characters from other SNK produced games, of course. That means characters like Miss X from The King of Fighters, Athena from Psycho Soldier, Yuri Sakazaki from Heart of Fighting, and Shiki from Samurai Showdown. There are 11 characters in total, including unlockables, and these compete in a new tournament called the Queen of Fighters. Like what you did there, SNK. In another nod to SNK's most popular fighting franchise, Gale's Fighters features the same combat system and gameplay as the King of Fighters R1 and R2, except for the fact it's a little bit faster. It also features items you can equip to try and influence matches, however many of them actually have no effect. With its super deformed visuals like many other NGPC fighters, it looks awesome and the audio is great too, so this is another must-have title for the classic portable.
I'm not the boy.
I'm not the boy.
I'm not the boy.
Neo Geo Pocket から新登場。
And that runs on my look at 10 amazing SNK Neo Geo Pocket exclusives. But which games impressed you the most here? Or are there any games that you don't think were worthy of inclusion in this countdown? And do you have some suggestions of your own? I always love to hear the thoughts and views of my audience, so please get typing in that comments section. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons and YouTube backers for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following people in particular for their much appreciated pledges: Paul Daniel, Mins, Dos Gamerman, Luke MC, Carl Olsen, Seth Robinson, Frosty, Mark Strickland, Klimatorn, Trogdor the Burninator, Daniel Skronsky, Ben P. Stein, Tabby Kitsune, David Maddox, Your Eyes Are Bleeding, Joe Casara, Classic Gamer 74, Bernard Santu, Peter Grantham, Noah Mann, and Electron Star Collapse. If you also want to help support all my creative endeavours, including this YouTube channel, then please go and check out my Patreon right now, where you can get access to extra content including downloads, exclusive videos, creative insights and much more besides. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.